After Guardians of the Galaxy Vol. 3, Groot's death to save his teammates is even more upsetting. Guardians of the Galaxy introduced Marvel's unlikely family of misfits who became one of the MCU timeline's most beloved ensembles. During the movie's climax, Groot valiantly sacrifices himself, an act that becomes even more tragic after Guardians of the Galaxy Vol. 3. Guardians of the Galaxy. The film brought together the eponymous team of scruffy heroes to battle Ronan the Accuser. Among the standout characters was Groot, a sentient tree being known for his limited vocabulary and boundless heart. His self-sacrifice in the climax of that film stood out as one of the franchise's most emotional moments. Griffiths in the climax of that film stood out as one of the franchise's most emotional moments. Guardians of the Galaxy Vol. 3 revisits many of the same themes, including friendship, trauma, and chosen family. However, this time the narrative offered deeper insight into Rocket Raccoon's tragic past. That new knowledge retroactively transforms Groot's original sacrifice from a moment of selfless heroism into something far more heartbreaking. The original Guardians of the Galaxy shocked audiences with its surprisingly raw emotion. This was particularly pertinent in its third act when Groot sacrificed himself to save his teammates. Faced with a deadly fall, Groot transforms himself into a giant cocoon, saving his teammates but dooming himself. With a simple yet soul-crushing line, "We are Groot," the character turns a moment of possible destruction into one of unity and protection. It's an emotional beat that lands not just because of the act itself, yet because of what Groot represents throughout the film: innocence, unconditional friendship, and a quiet strength that speaks volumes despite his limited vocabulary. Movies have been so groundbreaking and perfect that they maintain their quality throughout and frequently reshape the whole genre. The pain of watching him wrap his wooden limbs around his friends, accepting certain death without hesitation, was already a devastating emotional gut punch. Even though the post-credits scene promised a new version of Groot, Baby Groot, audiences understood that this was not the same being. The original Groot was gone. Groot's death marked the first real loss the Guardians endured as a family, and the memory of that moment lingered well beyond the film's end. Long before the MCU started regularly killing off characters, Groot's sacrifice raised the emotional stakes to an unprecedented level. It still hurts. However, now, thanks to Vol. 3, it stings in an entirely Guardians of the Galaxy Vol. 3 makes Groot's 2014 sacrifice even sadder. Guardians of the Galaxy Vol. 3 plunges into Rocket's traumatic origin story, revealing the deep psychological scars left by the cruel experiments at the hands of the High Evolutionary. Viewers learn Rocket's closest companions, Lilla, Teefs, and Floor, were brutally murdered in front of him. Rocket carried that loss like a phantom limb for the rest of his life. When watching Guardians of the Galaxy subsequently, with that knowledge in mind, Groot's original sacrifice hits harder. Rocket didn't just lose a teammate that day, he relived the worst moment of his life. Groot's death reawakened that trauma, forcing Rocket to watch, once again, as someone he loved laid down their life while he remained helpless. Even worse, Rocket likely internalized that moment as a continuation of his curse: anyone he grows close to dies. Although Groot is reborn, Rocket's initial experience of that death doesn't magically disappear. It reopens a wound from his earliest days, buried under layers of sarcasm and bravado. The bond between Rocket and Groot arguably becomes the emotional heart of the entire Guardians trilogy. Their relationship has always been special, equal parts comedic, loyal, and oddly familial. However, now it carries layers of survival, loss, and healing. Rocket has experienced unbearable pain from losing loved ones, and yet he lets himself get close to Groot. That choice becomes even more meaningful when audiences realize that Rocket risked enduring the same crushing grief again, which he did. Groot's sacrifice in the first film broke Rocket in a way that viewers can now fully appreciate. The fact that Rocket didn't shut himself off proves how important Groot is to him. It also redefines Groot's rebirth, not as a simple adorably reset, but as a symbol of hope, Rocket gets a second chance to love and protect someone without losing them. At the same time, the idea that Groot can die and return in a different form adds a mythic quality to their relationship. It's not just friendship, it's resilience. The Groot-Rocket dynamic is no longer just a charming pairing. It's a reminder that love can survive death, and even trauma can evolve into healing. There has been a lot of pain and heartache across the Guardians trilogy, yet there is a special kind of joy in knowing that Rocket and Groot are still out there together. In a franchise that isn't shy about goodbyes, this duo surviving the end of Vol. 3 feels like a small mercy. They've been through loss, they have endured hardships, rebirths, and cosmic chaos. Yet they have emerged stronger and more complete. Rocket, now a true leader and more emotionally open than ever, stands beside Groot, who continues to evolve both in form and in expressive depth. Than ever stands beside Groot, who continues to evolve both in form and in expressive depth. Their bond remains one of the most adorable and enduring in the entire MCU. Watching them fight side by side, it's obvious they're not just teammates, they're soulmates in the platonic, brotherly sense. Ends. That emotional stability is rare in the MCU, and after all they've endured, it's earned. As the main Guardians of the Galaxy concludes, knowing that Rocket and Groot are still out there together feels like the perfect gift.